Hello, boys and girls. It's story time again. Yes, and this is the place where you get to be in the story. So, I'd just like to say a big thank you first and foremost to everybody's interest and their requests. You've given me lots and lots of writing to do, which is great. So, this next story is dedicated to a girl called Riley, who is 8. And she likes otters. So this is for you, Riley. I hope you enjoy. And everybody else, sit down, lie down, close your eyes, and enjoy some story time. Here we go. So this story is called Riley and the Otterly Terrifying River. Here we go. Hurry up, Mum, hurry up. You're taking forever, said Riley, getting her mum's shoes ready by the front door. Riley's mum was a writer, you see, so when she was busy writing her book, she was almost impossible to communicate with. We've all been there. There, finished, declared Mum, beaming up at Riley, and as she snapped her laptop shut. Shall we go kayaking then? Well, yes, said Riley, trying not to roll her eyes, and failing. I saw that young lady. Less of the cheek, please, said Mum. Sorry, Mum. It's just that I've been waiting for almost half an hour now, and inspiration keeps getting in your way. I'm dying to see a real live otter. Riley's mum went over and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry. Racer! As quick as a flash, her mum was out of the door before Riley could react. Hey, no fair! Riley laughed, then chased her mum out to the car. Ding, ding, ding. A little time passes as they've travelled. Once Riley and her mum geared up, wetsuit, life jacket and paddle, at the Otterly's Canoe and Kayak Hire Centre. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? They climbed into their own one-person kayak. Riley had insisted on having her own kayak because she knew her mum would be useless in a canoe. And if Riley spotted an otter, she wanted to get there as quickly as possible. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Oh, this is Penelope, by the way. Yeah, she just wants to say hello. Anyway, the hire guy was called Ted, but Riley's mum kept calling him Teddy Bear, which was highly embarrassing. Yes, I can imagine that would be very embarrassing. I do feel for you, Riley. Anyway, Ted, or should I say Teddy Bear, held Riley's hand to steady her as she got into her boat. At first, she thought she might fall in. The boat was so wobbly as it rocked from side to side on the still waters. But she soon steadied herself and felt right at home in her kayak. The thought of searching for an otter was so exciting. Oh, can't wait. Do you think she's going to find a otter, boys and girls? I hope so. Now, remember, spoke Teddy Bear, if you go too far east, he pointed to Riley's left, you will come to a fork in the river. Do not, under any circumstances, go right. It leads to the rapids, and you're not skilled enough to go down there yet. It's too dangerous. There are signposts all along the bank to remind you of this, so you can't really miss it. But just in case, I thought I'd mention it. You think she's going to go down that way? What do you think? Anyway, I think we should definitely go west, said Riley's mum, soon after Teddy Bear had finished talking. Riley was just about to agree when something caught her eye in the waters ahead. What was that? Did you see that, Mum? Over there, pointed Riley. It was a splash. Could that be an otter? She asked Ted. Ted looked over, narrowed his eyes and said, probably. There are many otters along this river. Well, that was it for Riley. She went off paddling quicker than you can expect. Whether her mum liked it or not, she was gone. Looks like it's east then, grumbled Mum from behind. Oh, they're off on their kayak trip now. 20 minutes or so later, Riley was no closer to finding her otter. Frustratingly, the splash she saw from before kept reappearing up ahead. She was tantalisingly close to it now. "You're going too fast, Riley!" shouted Mum from afar. Riley could hear the slight panic in her voice. "Oh, but I'm so close," thought Riley. "Okay, Mum," she called back, then softly said to herself, "Just a little bit further. Besides, I waited for her earlier. She owes me." Cheeky Riley. Isn't she cheeky? Yeah. Would you do that in real life, Riley, I wonder? Anyway, Riley's mum shouted something else, but Riley didn't hear her. The splashing of whatever the animal was up ahead was getting louder and more frequent. Riley's heart was racing. Boom, 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 boom. Her eyes now glued to the water's surface. Unfortunately, she hadn't noticed the signpost passing on her left, or the 2 signposts passing on her right. Uh-oh. And before Riley realised, she had taken a right at the fork instead of left. Did you see that one coming, boys and girls? It was a little obvious. Anyway, this is not good. Her kayak was now racing along at an alarming pace, swinging around the corner and out of sight from her mum. "Mum! Mum!" she tried calling, but in vain. She frantically paddled, but again to no effect. Wild panic set in. The rushing waters cancelled out all other noise. You know what that sounds like. And scrambled Riley's thoughts. She couldn't think. "Oh, what do I do?" She looked around desperately for someone to save her. But how could they? She was all alone. It was times like these that Riley wished she was a superhero with superhuman powers. She could just get herself out of this sticky situation, or should I say wet situation. Anyway, for some reason, her best friend Freya popped into her mind. What would she do in this position? But before she came up with an answer, the nose of the kayak smashed into a rock jutting up out of the rapids. Smash! Somehow, amazingly, the boat hadn't capsized, sorry. The boat did not capsize, and it didn't break into pieces either, but it certainly sent her spiralling out of control. Whoa! Dizzy and utterly petrified, Riley dropped the paddle in the boat and clung onto the sides, her knuckles now bone white. Ever find that? When you're clutching onto something so tightly, the whites of your knuckles come out. Yes, maybe not for you. She hasn't got many knuckles. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yes. She's clinging onto the edge of the boat. "Help!" she screamed, squeezing her eyelids shut. Thud! What was that? Riley jolted forward, almost spilling into the fast-moving river. She just managed to stop herself, hands out in front. The boat had stopped moving for some reason. But how? This was the fastest and deepest part of the river, and there were no rocks nearby, jutting out of the water. Riley tentatively peeked over the boat's edge. Only dark waters were below. So what was holding the boat still? Puzzling. The boat then juddered. Then nothing. Riley tensed and held her breath. Something was underneath the boat. And whatever it was lifting the kayak into the air and carrying it towards the bank. 2 paws suddenly appeared on the lip of the boat. The starboard side. That's the right side. Riley leaned over, shaking all over. And do you know what she saw, boys and girls? That's right. She stared into the face of an otter. An otter? Was it wearing a red cape? Its eyebrows were furrowed in concentration, a tiny pink tongue sticking out of the corner of its mouth. Riley was so flabbergasted she forgot to breathe and went light-headed. And when the otter met her eyes, winked, and then smiled, Riley fainted. Oh no, poor Riley. Yes, she fainted. She didn't breathe. She forgot to breathe. Riley! Riley! Where are you? Shouted Riley's mum from afar. Riley opened her eyes and sat up. She was sitting beside the riverbank with a blanket wrapped over her. A miniature picnic blanket with some provisions laid out beside her. Some algae, a live fish flopping around, a dirty cup of what looked like river water, and an otter's pawful of berries. Riley! Yelled Mum. Riley, who was sitting on the bank, bone dry, could see her through the trees. I'm over here, Mum! She yelled, waving. Riley's mum pumped her arms, powering against the rapid current like a pro. Perhaps she wasn't so useless at paddling after all, thought Riley. Mum came ashore, hugging Riley tightly. Are you okay? She held Riley at arm's length and got a good look at her. What were you thinking? Didn't you hear me shout to you to come back? You could have been killed. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Mum, said Riley, awkwardly scratching the back of her neck. I found my otter, though, she perked up. And you'll never guess what happened next. Well, I know what happened. You nearly drowned, Riley, shouted Mum, hysterically. She looked down, noticing the picnic blanket laid out for the first time. What's that? Riley grinned. I think the otter left it for me after they saved me from the river. Riley's mum laughed, but still looked a little concerned. And how did they do that exactly, Riley? Lift your boat out of the water and draw you to safety? You certainly do have an imagination, Riley. Actually, I might use this idea in my next story, you know. Come on, let's get back home in the warm. I think we've had enough excitement for one day. And so it was, that Riley had met her very first otter. Or super otter, I should say. What an utterly terrifying adventure indeed. And so there we have it. That was the utterly terrifying river adventure featuring Riley. And I hope you all enjoy that story. And stay tuned for the next one. Bye-bye.